A soaking wet day in Basilicata, a mighty long stage, a powerful breakaway, Giulio Ciccone conceding the race lead, an extraordinary battle à deux between Arrieta and Eulálio, both crashing. One of them went the wrong way, an amazing stage winner and a new maglia rosa. If you're watching on YouTube, hit subscribe now. Well, so early on today, Jacopo, Guarnieri and I took the wise decision that we weren't going to go outside to record the podcast today because we're not stupid.
No, we are a very intelligent person. And actually, the moment you look outside, it was grey all over the place. And I think that's why this place of Italy, this country, is so green. It rained so much the whole day.
It was very wet today. So we found ourselves this tiny little area of the Giro d'Italia infrastructure, the properties here, and we're kind of like hiding away from everybody. But as you can probably see, that there is the finishing arch that they've already turned the lights out on, and there's people crawling all over the place and starting to dismantle it because all this kit is being dismantled and moved to Napoli for tomorrow, the home of pizza. And Jacopo is fully intent this evening on sampling Napoli's nightlife, aren't you, when we get there?
Yeah, not really the nightlife. I just want to have a fried pizza. That's all I want. I don't care about, the fuzzy and, mingling with people. No, I just want a pizza and just food.
Fried pizza.
It's the best.
Fried pizza from Naples. And you can see these little cables here. This is basically, we commentate right above here. We sit above here on a double decker. And that is, you can see these cables are connecting our voice to the world.
And at the same time, there are also some, places where the air blows up, from here.
Yeah.
Because up, we don't have air conditioning. Basically, we if it's warm, it's warm. If it's cold, it's cold. But in here, they have air conditioning. You remember when we were in the mountains? So you can actually have your feet warm if you find the right spot.
That's right.
From the air blowing from
That's right.
underneath
That's right.
us.
Listen, all of this stuff may not seem relevant or important to you, but it's incredibly important to us, isn't it? It's what makes us happy. And anyway, but the bike race made us happy today because, not going to lie, I woke up a little bit thinking, 203 kilometers. That's a lot of hours in commentary. But unlike that long stage on stage 2 in Bulgaria, I think we always knew or hoped that today would be as aggressive as it turned out to be, Jacopo, and we weren't disappointed.
No, not at all. I mean, everything happened during the day, and the speed at the start line was frantic. But I think one of the main actors also of today's stage was the rain, which at the start, there was torrential rain and there was proper river on the side of the roads crossing the road. Sometimes seemed like the riders were floating on the water. It
was unbelievable. I mean, the forecast wasn't great this morning, but when the race got underway, they left the coast in Calabria straight into the Calabrian Apennines, but straight up a 20-kilometer climb.
Yeah.
And the gods of cycling they did two things. They turned the lights out, so they were racing in the dark. Basically, it was nighttime all of a sudden. Yeah. And then they just produced the most enormous rainstorm that endured off and on throughout the day. Every time they thought they were going to get a bit drier, it was just like a bucket of water tipped over the entire region of Basilicata from the heavens for the cycling gods.
It was horrible. I mean, looking at the riders out, many times they went back to the car, changing gloves. There were so many moments, funny moments with Tarozzi, who eventually was in the breakaway. It took, 10 kilometers to get one glove on his hand.
Yeah.
3 attempts. But the third one, he was able to do so.
13 riders eventually got in the main breakaway of the day, over the top of that first Cat 3 climb, and then onto the valley. It wasn't the valley road, but the flatter part of the section in the middle as they headed north through Basilicata. Can we name all 13? Probably not. Manuele Tarozzi.
Einar Rubio and Milesi from Movistar.
Thomas Silva and Christian Scaroni of XDS Astana, 5.
Narvaez and Arrieta from UAE.
6, 7. Afonso Eulálio, very significantly.
Then there was Garofoli for Sudal Quickstep.
Martin Ciotta of Uno X Mobility.
Tarozzi, we said already. Then there was...
Ben Turner. From Ineos.
Quite a good move. Victor Campanaz from Visma Leasebike.
He was being random, wasn't he? At one point, the camera picked him out when everybody was shivering and shaking and trying to get the clothes on. And he was, because he's Victor Campanaz.
He's Victor Campanaz.
He was doing, how would you describe that? He was like...
a meme-ready image of warming up the cheek in order to... maybe it was, some sort of South Korean, skincare. of some sort. Like he was messaging both chicks.
Yeah, it was very Victor Campenaerts.
And he does when there's the camera on him. Like he knows. I think he does the most weird things when he knows there is a camera.
I think that's right. But I also think he does weird things when there's no camera anywhere near him.
Probably is true.
But he was a really strong ride today, and he actually animated it, didn't he? He was the rider in a kind of Thomas de Gent style, who went off the front, hitting these high power numbers, holding that position and encouraging a group of the strongest breakaway riders to come onto his wheel.
Exactly. And we missed one guy who was in breakaway yesterday. He was not featuring the very first attack, but he later was able to merge.
Who's that?
Darren Rafferty.
It
was an amazing, a very kind of suicidal mission on him, trying to rejoin after the group had already a minute, I think.
Yeah, about 50 seconds.
And he closed down the gap. It took him 15, 20 kilometers. He spent a lot of energy. Ultimately, those energy, they were not there for the finale, but nonetheless, he shows like some great panache.
Really strong. He's been impressive the last couple of days, Darren Rafferty. But here's the story of the day. The really key rider at that point who'd made it into the breakaway was Aino Rubio. Now, he's a Colombian climber. He's not a youngster. He's 28 years old, very well established, world tour professional, small climber. 5 years ago, he won a stage of the Giro d'Italia, so he's got the pedigree. He was at 10 seconds to Giulio Ciccone, and he's a bit of an unknown quantity because when he's on form, he's very, very, very good. So Lidl-Trek were under pressure not to let that breakaway go, really. But they haven't really got a very strong team for the GC here.
For the controlling leading jersey, and eventually 4 of their riders were dropped because Max Warscheil, Teutenberg, Consonni and Milan were not part of the first group.
The sprinters team,
so
basically.
Then you take away Derek G, which is the dedicated leader, so he's not going to pull. Then there was Sobrero and who was there? I don't remember.
Emmanuel Gebregsjabir, which I actually just messed it up just then. Emmanuel Gebregsjabir, who is an Eritrean all-round domestique, super domestique, really. He's brilliant. He's a really strong rider on the flat. He can also climb very well, and he will empty the tank for his leader. He's a great rider. But throughout the day, you as a rider, you knew him really well, but you always referred to him as Emmanuel. You never.
I never. You
never had to say
really, also because I knew it was hard to say, and I found very hard to say. I don't know why. There's some sound that is very hard for me to say, and you made it look so easy that it annoys me in a way. That's why today, every time I was about to get the name right, I was punching that because
punching me really quite hard on the arm, like literally just bang.
I can do it also.
Anyway, it was down to Gebregsjabir really to control the break, and it started to go out, and it started to go out, and then it reached 3 minutes, handing Rubio a 2-minute 50 virtual lead in the general classification. And at that point, Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe started to ride with Gianni Moscon and Mick van Dijk, and that brought the breakaway to heel somewhat, and it started to fracture the breakaway as they approached the final Cat 2 climb of the day.
There was a previous non-categorized climb where the gap was better than 2 minutes, I think, over the peloton. So you think it can go either way in favor of the breakaway or the peloton. But that was the moment, I think, the moment that everything changed, because we had a first attack of the breakaway, which was Igor Arrieta, who hit solo the front before even the categorized climb started. And at the back, Red Bull stopped. So they basically stopped. I think they missed some rider because Zweyoff wasn't there, Aleotti wasn't there, and even Moscon didn't pull for a long time. So, they missed numbers, and I think they decided, okay, it's not worth it. I mean, why would gift Ciccone or something like this? So they stopped. While in the front, Arrieta, he was able to gain almost a minute, I would say 20 seconds for a moment before hitting the climb. And then he was aside of the breakaway, and there was... a decisive moment happened. You remember?
No.
Eulálio, it seemed like he was not really nowhere near his best form.
Decisive moment.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't the only decisive. We had so many more decisive
moments to decide who was going to go.
An important moment.
An important moment?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was the moment where Alexander Vlasov, so they chewed through Mick van Dijk and Gianni Moscon. Then Vlasov got on the front from Red Bull Hang, but they stopped making a difference.
Yeah.
He just held them there at 3 minutes. And that was when you realised someone from the break is going to win the stage. So then it was like a survival of the fittest in the breakaway. Surprisingly, Aino Rubio was dropped quite early.
Yeah.
And that threat was neutralised. So then you look down at the other riders who are a threat in the general classification, and Afonso Eulálio of Bahrain Victorious, the first time I ever saw him race was when I was commentating at the Tour of Britain, which is a very relatively low-level race compared to the Giro d'Italia, and he finished 6th in the general classification, right? So he's not really an established World Tour pro yet, but you looked at it and he was 1 minute and 11 seconds down, and all of a sudden he rode across to Arrieta.
Bam, put him in place.
Put him in the virtual lead. And then you're suddenly thinking, okay, how's this going to play out? And those two were very strong, weren't they?
Yeah, and they worked evenly. I mean, Eulálio rejoined Arrieta, I think, like 2.5 kilometers from the top of this categorized climb, which was very nasty, very steep and hard. And
had a great name as well, didn't it?
Yeah, Grande Montagna di Viggiano. Grande Montagna means great mountain of Viggiano. It's like, can it sound even more, I don't know, big and proud, you know?
Yeah. It wasn't that grande though, was it?
But it was very steep.
It was big.
It was very steep. And on the top, they reached this lumpy parkour up and down. And there you realize like, okay, it's going to go in favor of those two riders, because behind a group of 4 riders was eventually formed, and it was Silva and Scaroni from XDS Astana.
Milesi,
a little bit, like he rejoined them a little bit later, and Garofoli. And you will think like they're 2 guys at the front, they're going to come back in the front. But you saw they were not gaining any ground. They were always a constant 50 second, 1 minute, 50 second. So you start to realize, okay, this is going to be it. The duo hit the descent together, which they finished out 7 kilometers from the finish. This descent was finishing, was ending.
Yeah.
And then?
Well, then the helicopter picked out Igor Arrieta, sliding out on a left-handed turn, just losing traction. The bend was almost done. A suspicion he might have started pedaling a little early, or maybe not. But then he just slipped out, slid across the road, banged his head against the curb, sprang back up, tried to put his chain back on. The UAE Team Emirates car was a little bit further back, so it took a while for him to get a spare bike. And at that point, that close to the finish line, Eulálio must have thought, because he would have heard what had happened, race won. Yep. All I need to do now is just cruise to the finish line without anything bad happening.
And then something bad happening, because I think it was very unfortunate for Eulálio. Same left corner, because Arrieta crashed on a left corner. It was a very gentle left corner. I think it was the last one of the descent, because after that there was no more descending. And I think it was soapy because he slides so badly, really fast. Like he almost think like he can get injured from that.
Yeah.
The car was there. Luckily for him, he was super fast on changing the bike. There was just a brief moment where it seems Eulálio wanted to go the other direction, which got me thinking like, okay, what's happening here?
Is he concussed or what? No, but he didn't bang his head. The bike could have ended up like facing the wrong way up the road.
But I think like he was pushing in a way and the mechanic in the other way. So they found like this, they lose a couple of seconds there. Team pushes him to restart. And then in a matter of 200, 300 meters, as he restarted, Arrieta appears at the back, rejoining him.
Arrieta is back on his wheel. By the way, as the truck continues to be dismantled around us. And all of a sudden they're there together. Yeah. And there's an understanding between them, because there's still about 6 kilometers to go now, that Eulálio, he's in a GC race. He's the maglia rosa. So it's his responsibility to ride this to the finish, and then they're going to do a battle. Unquestioning, Eulálio just rode on the front, Arrieta on his wheel. And you thought, well, nothing bad is going to happen. But they rode up into Potenza, up into the old city, and then they had to get back down again. And that's where it all started to go wrong again.
Yeah.
Even before the big incident, Arrieta just drifted over a big white line in the road, wet, and he very nearly lost his back wheel there.
We think at least that the bike of Arrieta was a little bit over inflated, because every time there was like a little bit too, inclination, it was sliding, And then we arrive at roughly 2.5 kilometers, was really at the last bridge.
Yeah.
And then there was the right corner, Afonso Eulálio was at the front. It didn't got it right, like it was too fast, and he went out and there was the road dividing. Either you go down or you go up a bridge. Eulálio made it, and Arrieta was just too scared to slide, and he went completely into these red fences,
he just had no option, did he? Eulálio went that way, and Arrieta went, I have to go this way now.
Otherwise I crash again.
I have to go this way, off course, into a police cordon tape that sort of went boing, like that.
And it took him so much time even to come back, because he got stuck on the bike, and it seemed like he was, it's over. I'm not going to make it anymore.
Yeah.
And then he restarted, and by restarting, there was also like a little bridge with some white lines on the ground. He almost fell again because his back wheel was slipping all over the place. And then he almost started screaming like...
Yeah, he banged
something
it.
Like we cannot repeat here probably.
I mean, he just knew, for the second time, he knew that the race had gone.
Yeah.
If you think about both of them, Arrieta thought, I've lost it. And then he thought, no, hang on, I'm still back in it. Now I thought I've lost it again. And now I've really lost it. Oh no, I'm back in it. And Eulálio must have thought, I've won it. I've lost it. Oh no, hang on, I've won it again. And then right at the end, I've lost it. So the fluctuating fortunes for those two riders, absolutely extraordinary, isn't it?
Yeah, as we were heading into the last kilometre, it was a long drag uphill. You see Eulálio was keeping his legs spinning while there was an helicopter shot. So really like Arrieta falling on like massive gear, like start sprinting, from far. And then you think like, it's impossible. It's impossible. It's impossible. Oh, wait, is this possible?
Yeah.
And then you start getting closer and closer. And I think at 200 meters, he rejoined him. He started sprinting. Eulálio was empty. His tank was empty.
Yeah.
And he just sprint to victory, Arrieta.
Yeah, it's incredible. And the emotions, Igor Arrieta's emotions were extraordinary at the end. Eulálio has this big lead of over 6 minutes in the general classification to all the contenders. He can work with that over the days to come and hold on to this jersey. So he's got his reward. In the end, I think he was quite phlegmatic about it. He could see almost the funny side of the race. Yeah. His disappointment will be temporary. But Arrieta, you were telling me, and he comes from a really established cycling family in Spain.
The father was a pro and mostly known to be the director of Movistar team for many years, and as well he moved now to Decathlon. So I think he grew up just watching cycling, enjoying cycling.
I don't know if you can hear, but all around us, they are hammering and they need to dismantle this truck. We literally have to go, otherwise we're going to be dragged away with the truck and taken to Napoli.
Could be a solution.
Yeah. Let's have a quick look though, if we can, at the Napoli stage. It's a 2-star stage from Paestum to Napoli. There is only one categorized climb on the way. It's 141 kilometers in length. And for the most part of the opening phase of the race, they run along the Tyrrhenian coast in Campania and eventually head inland. They skirt around the mighty volcano of Vesuvius, hoping that it's not going to choose stage 6 to erupt. And then eventually to the north of the city, there is one intermediate sprint. They head towards the Red Bull kilometre and then eventually towards a slightly altered finish line in Napoli. So it's not the same finish line as normal.
No, it's not the same, and it's going to feature the finish line on the cobbles, on the paved roads leading to Piazza Plebiscito, one of the famous square of Naples where all the events are held. And it's going to be quite different than usual, and very happy to see the race finishing in there on such a classic stage nowadays of Napoli.
Yeah, not an edition of the Giro seems to go by without us going into Napoli. All right, that completes our little roundup of events on this incredibly dramatic stage. Just a couple of your reactions, comments before we close. Flistia says, loving the pod, approve of architecture and civil engineering chat. Calatrava also did the turning torso in Malmö. I feel so embarrassed I didn't know anything about Calatrava. He's a legend in architecture. Now I realise the railway station in Liège that I know very well is one of his amazing constructions, and I recognise the railway station you were talking about in Italy. So well done there. And Lee KMH says, can we get a Jacopo daily outfit check? We are starving for fashion in the peloton. Yesterday, your neckerchief. The little neckerchief you had. Champagne stuff, it really was.
Yeah, it was.
It was.
It was. Okay, and the next day is more of this, I promise. Okay.
All right. Okay, we've got to get this man his fried pizza in Napoli, so we'll see you again tomorrow. Keep watching, keep subscribing, and spread the word about For the Love of Cycling. We'll see you tomorrow. Ciao.
Ciao.